Nation. The hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews. It's your number one source. Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
What is up? Episode 180. If you're listening to this episode between the dates of Friday, May 20th through Sunday, May 22nd, I am, and everything went well, I am in Dallas, Texas at the Dallas Card Show and hanging out with some of my good Dallas friends, hopefully having a good time. If you're in the Dallas area or going to the Dallas Card Show yourself, track me down. I'd love to shake your hand, talk a little hobby, talk a little bit about whatever, right? Hobbies to people. I love meeting as many people as I can for the first time or not the first time. Makes no difference. Hoping to have a great trip and see what I get at the show, what I bring back, and maybe even see what's waiting for me when I get back home. Hint. Some big news. We, many know SGC is a sponsor, and every once in a while we're going to start giving away some free subs to SGC, which is one of my favorite grading company. I just love everything they do, and I got an order on its way back in less than 20 days, and that's I think in today's grading times, that's almost unprecedented. So looking forward to getting that small order back. Looking forward to giving away some subs to some lucky listeners and followers of the show. So look for that in the near future, some free SGC sub giveaways. Got a great guest today on today's program as we approach the National. We're in almost 60 days into the 60-day mark away from the National Atlantic City. And the gentleman I have on today's show is one of the booths there that everybody rushes to get to and loves to get to, and that's the Singles Club booth. Everything's $1. And we've got Chris Geiss on today from Singles Club, and great guy, and it's gonna come out in the interview, talking to him. It's a team effort with that group, and he's very thankful and appreciative of everyone on his team that makes that happen every year at the National now. And they're a known commodity, and like he says, though, we're gonna find out. We think they just do business, that week in the National, and that's it till the next National. Most know there's a lot more, obviously, that goes into that, and that's a almost 365-day a year process to get ready for that. 5-6 days at the National, and they do other stuff as well. So we're gonna learn from Chris, how this all goes down. They make it look easy, but there's a lot of work into what they do and how they've even improved over the years. We're going to talk about that as well, and some hobby stuff to boot. And Chris, I've gotten to know him. He's really a great guy, in cards and out of cards, and glad to finally get him on and get a little bit of behind the scenes behind how the Singles Club gets it done. So without further ado, let's start this thing up.
Hey there, this is John Keating from That 70s Card Show with a friendly reminder that the hobby is the people.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. The show starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Are you ready? It's showtime.
All right, real happy to be joined now on the Sports Card Shop at Moco guest line by Chris Geiss, one of the owners of the Singles Club. I've gotten to know Chris at the National, buying some stuff there. It's one of the hottest spots at the National. We're gonna talk about that, but it's not just a national thing. They do business all year, and we're gonna learn a little bit of kind of where it all started. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, John, good to be here. Always try and catch a piece of your action, and it's hard to get you every night because you're so busy, but we always find something.
Yeah, it was, we got that, I mentioned the National. That's, I call it the Super Bowl, the hobby. I know it's a big week for you guys. We're going to talk about that for sure. But kind of, I know it's the age-old podcast question, but how did you get your start into cars? Where did it all begin?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm going to be 50, so I'm like everybody that grew up in the 80s, sports fan, and we didn't have the internet, and we didn't have Xboxes, and if we wanted to see our heroes, we were buying sports cards, right? We were collecting and stuff like that. And my partner, Cody, he's 2 years younger. We're actually relatives. We're first cousins, and we grew up right across the street from each other in a small town, and we had many a wiffle ball game or stickball game with the cards hanging in the back. Everybody wanted to be Ricky Henderson back then, in 1980, 81. So we were buying cards all the time when we were kids, and my family's owned a grocery store forever, so I kind of had the in, right? I was when the cards came in, I kind of had an in to get them first, and stuff like that. And so that started there. Then when I got to college, the opportunity came about in 91, 92, 93 era to buy a shop. So I had a little small shop in a town of about 12,000, in the mid 90s, and it ran through a little bit of everything and was a hobby, and it also made me a couple bucks. I suppose I bought me a couple 24 packs once I was 21 or something like that, but it didn't pay the college bills, that's for sure. But so then like everybody, you hit that 28, 29, and now you're time to have a family, and I had a couple kids, and so Cody went on to get his master's degree and from college and raised some kids too. But about 2012, 13, we started talking again, and it's just like, hey, we should kick the tires on that a little more. And 12 and 13 happened, and we started picking up a collection here and a collection there, and got a little excited about it and stuff. And our kids got older, and my daughter was, all she wanted to do was open packs, which we know where that can go. But my son kind of got into it, and he started being a lot of help. And Cody's daughters, his youngest daughter is a big WWE fan, so she was into any time we came across that. And, it's just been a real thing for both of our families to grow from there. I mean, it's been 50 years of it, right? I mean, 40 years of it, just like everybody. I mean, no matter who tells you they're out of the hobby, I'm a believer they're never fully gone, and something's always going to drag them back for at least a little piece of the action.
Yeah, I like that. I'm 49, so I'm not that far behind you. I wouldn't even say I'm behind you. We grew up in the same era, obviously, at the same age. You made some great points I wanted to piggyback off. Like you said, we didn't grow up with the internet and social media and cell phones. The first thing we remember was the pagers back in the day. And then the cell phone. And I always tell people on this show, Chris, like, as much as we like those modern conveniences we have now, and I do too, I'm not knocking it. I use those as do most people, if not everybody. But like, I'm glad I sort of I'm glad I grew up in that era that I did, to know kind of a time before all that stuff. I think you appreciate stuff more when you didn't always sort of have it. Kids today, they didn't know, there's kids that can't do like a rotary phone. Not that there's anything wrong with that. They don't need to know that. But there's something to be said. I always tell the joke, now kids call each other or text each other. Where are you? Where you're at? When I was that age, and you too, right? How do we know where all our buddies were? All the bikes laying down in the front lawn, right, of whoever's house. We knew that's where everyone was hanging out. And
they all had a baseball handlebars.
Yeah. And I appreciate those days, and I get sentimental sometimes. I miss them. Parallel. I had a store myself from 92 to 97, so we're similar. We have a lot of common threads, hobby threads, and besides age and just kind of our paths, like you said. And here you are. It's 2022. Talk about singles club. You mentioned Cody, your cousin, also your partner. What did it start out as, and kind of how did it morph into what many of us know it today.
You know, I'd love to say we really split the atom. There's times we kind of look at it when the people are lining up to race in there, and we think, God, we really did come on to something here. But, so basically when we started in 2012, I mean, it was easy to find collections, right? Like, they were everywhere. Everybody was selling, the kids moved off to college, or the husband quit collecting, or, they came across grandpa's stuff. I mean, we have so many long road trips. We got a really good friend of ours who helps at National, Bray Fox, and another good friend, Perry Andreessen, who the four of us we had so many road trips together where we were chasing around. We'd rent a U-Haul, drive 12 hours, fill that thing up, drive back, unload it. We'd take it back to the U-Haul place, and they'd be like, you put how many miles on in 24 hours? What did you do? Quickly to tell one of my favorite stories is we're in North Dakota. We're in Bismarck, and we're going south. We're on a 12-hour run to Pueblo, Colorado, to pick up a big collection on a Friday night after work. And we're somewhere in South Dakota, and all of a sudden the cop pulls us over, and I'm like, oh man, Cody's driving, I'm on the side. I'm like, what did you do? You're not speeding. What's going on? The cop comes up and he goes, hey fellas, and he starts, the whole spiel, and he goes, what are you up to tonight? And Cody's like, we're driving to Pueblo to buy a baseball card collection. And the cop just starts laughing. He's like, you can't make that up, guys. Anyway, Cody's like, what did we do? And he goes, well, it's dark. You didn't turn your headlights on. So he forgot the headlights. But, so we have so many fun stories like that. And, as we bought these collections and these bigger collections and stuff, and we have full-time jobs. Cody works for the state. I'm now the executive director for the North Dakota Golf Association. So I'm plenty busy and stuff. But this has always been our time, for him and I to be best of friends and bring a couple of our really good friends in with it and stuff. And so we sat around and we talked. We're like, God, we're bringing truckloads home. And, we'd have people that we'd sell some of them off to and stuff. But we were always keeping stuff. And, we started to do some shows. And, by 2014, 15, there were no shows around here. Like the closest show for us to get to was Minneapolis. So stuff just kept accumulating. We just kept growing and growing. And finally one day, and I'll never forget it, it was November, the year before the Cleveland National. So with COVID, it messes me up, but it was 2018, the Cleveland National.
Chicago. I think Chicago.
Okay.
So it must have been 2017.
Okay. So yeah, the Cleveland National, it's November before the Cleveland National. I walk to my office phone and I call Cody and I say, I got an idea. And he's like, all right, let's hear it. I said, let's go to the National and take a whole booth and take 100,000 cards, and they're all $1. And he's like, well, seems like a big deal. Then we started looking into the costs. And so my first call was to Megan with the National. I'm like, hey, can we get a table? She's like, yeah, we got a couple left. Well, now it's impossible, but then it was awesome.
I was going to say, anyone listening, don't get any bright ideas. Those days.
We haven't got the last one. Seriously, we might have been the last ones to get it easily, right? So Megan's like, yeah, we have a couple left. It was in Cleveland. Okay. All right. Well, we got that part done. Well, we got the cards. Well, how are we going to get them there? Okay. So we go, and one thing led to another. Cody's fantastic on the social media, and Cody's fantastic on the forums of hyping us and getting people excited about us. But, so now you're going all the way to Cleveland, which for us is 18 hours. You're taking nothing but $1 cards, and you're about $12,000 in before you've even turned the key to leave North Dakota. And it's like, okay, and again, it's a hobby for us, right? So, I mean, this is not full-time what we do by any means. So we just love all right, we're into this. We filled there's 4 of us in the car, and a couple are flying in and meeting us and whatever. And so it was 18 hours of nervousness. I was like, what if we get there and nobody shows up? What if we get there and they just pass us because people at National I'd never been to one. None of us had. What if they're only buying big stuff, and stuff? But then we thought back about the shows we were doing, like in Minneapolis, when we would make the trip there. And what we'd always take was one display case, but then we'd just take piles of shoe boxes and $1 a piece. And it was everything from $1 to $20. And you've dug our boxes, John, it's everything. Tons of refractors, tons of numbered stuff, something people can use a lot of different directions. A lot of people see them, a lot of people grade them, whatever the case may be. But that was kind of what we rest on is, when we do set up, it's always been popular. So we pull into Cleveland, and we're the small fish now as we get into the big bowl because so many people that have been experienced. And you swing open that back door and the garage door goes up, and now we're driving in with our, and there's giant trucks, and we're like, oh man, what are we in for and stuff. And I'll never forget, because of all the hype we had done beforehand and all the social media and spinning it, there were people standing by our booth waiting for us. And that was and we hadn't even taken the stuff out of the car yet. And they had been like, hey, we saw you on Twitter. We saw you on, everywhere else, the blowout forums. When are you guys setting up? And we're like, well, tomorrow, and they were disappointed because we wanted to just check it out, maybe put up a sign or two. And so then we kind of felt good about it. And throughout the whole time, we love to see what people are buying. We love the interaction. I guess the premise of our business was, hey, it's $1. It's an easy decision, right? Once you start stacking them up, what's 10 or what's 20 and stuff like that.
Got to take a quick break to hear from one of our great sponsors, but we'll be back with more with Chris. Are you a new sports card collector or someone that's returning to the hobby? Maybe you're just looking for a friendly, trustworthy community to hang out with and enjoy collecting. Midwest Box Breaks has been bringing collectors together for almost 4 years with affordable breaks, helpful Twitter threads, and a Discord group packed with generous people who care about the hobby and other collectors. Check out the breaks at MidwestBoxBreaks.com. First-timers can use the coupon code MBB10 and save 10% on their first order. Your first break mail will also include a bonus card so no one strikes out on their first break. Our goal is to bring you as much value as possible. We've even launched an NFT project dedicated to the hobby. Find us on Twitter at MidwestBoxBreak. Sports Card Nation is back with Chris from Singles Club.
The other thing is, our big thing about card shows is everything better be priced. I mean, I hate to beat on it, but I don't like to go and look at a table and see nothing priced because then it starts the whole, well, I could get that and that for $60, and so at $1 it was easy. Everything was priced. The other thing is that at $1 there didn't have to be any of the negotiations, which I think a lot of people don't like, right? Like some of us love the art of the deal. I know I've seen you at it. You like to go back and forth and have the haggle, but we were just like, hey, they can make a stack of 50 or 100 cards, and if it's 108, they'll take them for $100 and out the door they'll go and that type of stuff. And Cleveland was just a huge hit. I mean, everything went. We had multiple offers to buy us out before we even opened our doors. And we're like, well, no, we got to see how this goes. If we got to know if this is a legit thing. And ultimately we did end up selling out to Rob from Burbank on Saturday afternoon of this first one. Yeah. So that was year one. Well, now we're all in because we had so much fun. I don't know if we made any money, but we had a hell of a good time. So year two starts, and then we're back to Chicago for year two. So now we got 2 booths because it was easy to get 2 booths back then, and stuff. And now it's not. But we did 2 booths. We took, and every year we come up with something extra. What's our next step? We took about 275,000 cards the second year. And it was the same thing, man. It was lined up and around the block waiting for us. We try to cater to the hobbyists, so we don't let any of the dealers pick any of it before the doors open. You've seen that too. I mean, the sharks are always walking around wanting to get at it. And we're here for the hobbies guys. We want them to all enjoy it as much. We want to see any of them sit and pick through and look for, if they're looking for Ken Griffey refractors or whatever it is. We're not going to just let the sharks pick it and then go sell it at market all $10-20. So the line actually starts, and we've showed plenty of videos of that. And so the second year in Chicago, we, was the same thing. We had plenty of offers to sell out and stuff. And we kept going. And we went all the way till Sunday. And then Rob and his crew bought us out on Sunday that second year. Then, of course, COVID hit. Yeah. And then year 3 was last year for us. And we followed our same blueprint. And how it goes is, and you can see I've got an unfinished basement with about 120 feet of shelving. And everything starts on one wall when we get it and gets sorted. And all of our friends who come over and enjoy a football game and some pizza and maybe a cold one, they'll sit down and sleeve a few hundred cards for us and laugh at us because we're dragging baseball cards across the country and stuff. But they enjoy being a part of it. And eventually, we got more. So for year 3, we took almost 400,000. Wow. But our thing that we started last year was every day we brought out fresh inventory.
Yeah.
So that was huge. I mean, guys would sit and pick, and we all love Dr. Jim. Dr. Jim got to the point where we were ordering him a Big Mac. We were ordering whatever you need, Jim. We're happy, having a celebrity like him from the card hobby hang out. And it was awesome. Jim spent 15 hours, and I just kept joking with him over the 3 days. I'm like, don't tell your wife you were at a singles club. Don't tell your wife.
I love that name too. And actually, I spent about 2 of those hours sitting, as you remember, sitting next to Dr. Beckett, and he outlasted me. Like after 2 hours, I'm like, I got, as much as I like sitting down, I've never been confused for not liking that. I kind of hit my wall, and he's still going. And as most people, he's talked about it on his show. That's one of his favorite things to do at the National. And what bigger endorsement can you get than that? Probably, one of the hobby's icons who loves that stuff. And it goes to, Chris, it goes to something I always preach, right? A lot of people complain that the hobby's getting expensive. It's hard to stay in it. It's discouraging. And it's not true. I'm not saying the hobby isn't expensive. It can be, but there's other alternatives. And, your booth is a great example of that. Like you said, there's diamonds in the rough there. There's hidden gems at $1 a piece. And like you said, you find, and I can attest to that, finding $10, $20 cards. And even besides the value, which is cool in its own right, just stuff you need. Or maybe, hey, I haven't seen this one in a long time. Holy smokes, this brings back some nostalgia. And there's something to be said about that. Makes, for that young kid that has $10, right? Yep. He can get 10 cards that might be valued, $50 to $100 potentially if he picks the right ones. And it kind of, for the younger set, it sort of teaches them to sort of bargain hunt or try to get stuff that is a great, it's a good learning experience for kids and adults like me as well, Dr. Jim. So
one of my favorite last year was, I'd say he's probably 14 or 15-year-old kid, maybe a little younger, but he came in with mom and dad, and I could tell mom and dad didn't know anything about cards, but they just brought him to the National. And I'd seen him the year before too. And mom and dad each had a Post-it with like 5 names on it. And dad was digging the baseball stuff and pulling every one of those 5 names. And mom was in the basketball, and they were filling a shoebox for their son, and they were doing it as a family just to do it, and stuff.
Team effort.
Another one of my favorite things is when guys walk out, I try and get a little video of them. I'll be like, hey, how'd you do in the singles club today? And they'll be like, spent $80, $570 worth of eBay. Most people are like, oh, you gave it all away. I'm like, heck no, that's what we're here for and stuff. And last year we had a teacher actually come to us, and I think he's from Missouri, and he did a little testimonial for us, and we put it out on Twitter. And he did a ton of shows he used to set up. And after he saw our first singles club in Chicago, for the next 2 years, he completely changed his business model, and he followed our model. And he did the Dallas shows, and he did all those other shows, and he was able to pay off his student loans, and he was going to get out of teaching and go cards full time last year when we saw him. And I'm like, hey, I'm still working. I haven't figured it out yet, but you copied us at work, So
I gotta say, Chris, to my knowledge, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. Everyone has. I'm a dealer. I have a bargain box, where you'll see 50-cent cards, $1 card, kind of a mixture of $1 and under. To my recollection, I've never seen anybody solely do where everything is at $1 price tag. Like you said, no haggling, no finagling. It's pretty cut and dry. I've never heard for that matter, let's even take the dollar price. I've never heard anyone do it at any price level, $2, $5,
right?
Whatever the case may be.
Oh, don't kid yourself. We got our ears up when we hear somebody that might have something that good too. Like we'll here. Our favorite part about it is we have all the work done before we get there. So I'll spend the winter, and Cody will spend the winter. We're sorting, and and everything's sorted by sport, and everything's sleeved. That's how we clean it up for you and stuff like that. So by the time we get there, everything's sorted. So we just got to get it in and get it on the correct shelves. So we like to get there first thing Tuesday morning at 9:00 when they let us in. And by 10:30, we've got our shelving set up. And by the way, we bought more plastic shelving than anybody in the country because we never take it home. Just leave it with somebody else. But anyway, then we like to get out and scout it out and see who else is trying or what are they doing and stuff like that. And then, of course, Cody will go one way and I'll go another, and the other guys will all. And then we'll get back for lunch and we'll be like, well, what'd you see out there? Well, I saw some dollar boxes over here that were pretty good. And I saw some here, but they weren't quite as good as what we do. We like, because we're trying to improve. We want to see, is doing it better than us. How can we catch up? And, I think the bringing out the fresh inventory every day is huge, though. That's just super positive.
And I appreciate, being competitive. Like I said, I'm a dealer that still does shows. Nothing wrong with that. That's just being smart about it. Yeah. But I will toot your horn for you here. You guys are the trendsetters. You set the tone. To me, like I said, the first ones to do something of this venture, and then, like you said, now rotating stock with fresh inventory every day. There's livestock markets that don't do that, let alone cards, and
well,
here you are, you're doing it. So I think I don't think you have too much to worry about. I think you've made quite a name for yourself. Going to step aside for a real quick break, but we'll be right back with more with Chris.
Iron Sports Cards is your #1 source for all your PSA and other grading submissions. Their elite status improves turnaround times. Heck, they even provide the card savers. Their chat rooms provide updates on all your submissions. They also offer wax options and single cards to cover all the bases. Check them out on Facebook at Iron Sports Cards Group or on the web at ironsportscards.com, or even give them a call at 1-877-IRON-PSA. Rob's got you covered.
Glad to be back with Chris Geiss. I wanted to talk a little bit, kind of before the National. You mentioned like having to travel a little bit and buy some of these collections and whatnot. At that stage, this is pre-National. How were you reselling the cards? Was it on the eBays and the traditional?
Yeah, we do a little eBay. I think both of us are maybe still too bigger collectors at heart. We keep a lot of stuff. But Fargo's about a 3-hour drive from us. We had some guys in Fargo that could get to Minneapolis, or they'd get to Chicago because it was closer for them, and they'd buy a lot of bulk from us, so we were able to do that. Obviously bigger cards are always easy to sell somewhere online and stuff like that, and stuff like that. So it was easy to, we just never really worried about that. I mean, we were the type that, if we go in and buy a collection for $5,000 or $6,000, kind of once we got that money back by selling some of it to the guys locally that we knew that were doing some stuff, our guys there's always guys around here that were listing full time on eBay, and they'd buy it from us for, 60% of eBay, and they'd make their little cut. And then we just kind of piled it up. And that's when we got to the point where I'm like, okay, there's 500,000 cards in the basement right now that are worth between $1 and maybe 20. And none of us have time to list $1 to $5 cards because it's just time consuming. And what are we going to do? And then that's when the phone call happened. And I'm usually I'm the eternal optimist of, it'll work. And Cody kind of pumps the brakes for me every now and then. He's like, you're crazy type thing. But as soon as I said this about, let's just take them all in their $1, it was like the light went on and we were both excited about it. And we've kept a ton. I mean, like I said, you can see some of the old wax behind me. That's Cody's jam. Yeah. I mean, he's been keeping a lot of that. I'm a Yankees guy. You're a Mets guy, I think, John. So I don't know.
Well, if it makes you feel a little bit better, when I was younger, I was a Yankees kid.
All right.
Thurman Munson, Willie Randolph, Craig Nettles. What ruined it for me, and I don't want to, ramble on. What ruined it for me was when Steinbrenner was just like messing with everything and talking all the time and had his hand in everything. I know he's the owner, but he was a little too out in front. And I'm just like, I can't deal with this. He was trading guys, firing Billy Martin, rehiring him, firing him, rehiring. I just said it's getting to be a circus. And I don't hate the Yankees. I just kind of changed my allegiance. It was about 84, 85 when I did it. It was before the World Series win. So I know people have said, you waited till they won in 86. Yeah. And no, I did it a few years before that. I don't hate them. I just changed allegiances, to
back to what you said. We moved a little here and there, and we made good friends that we knew wanted this or wanted that, and you always had somebody, and once in a while there'd be a show 3, 4, 5 hours away that we finally get to go to a show. And actually the last 2 years now we've started promoting shows here in Bismarck with a friend of ours, Kelly Wrangham, who's ripping list. He's pretty popular, one of the bigger breakers, sports cards for you. And so we promote shows once a month, not in the summertime, because obviously summertime's in North Dakota, everybody's outside. But so we do 9 shows a year at one of the local malls. There are about 50 tables, North Dakota, South Dakota dealers, a couple of Minnesota dealers. And so that's where we move some more stuff. We don't take the singles club to that ever. We take just, some display cases. And, people have been on it. You should do the Dallas show. In fact, I was at the Dallas show here in March, and I bumped into Dr. Jim, and he's like, "Are you set up?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just."
He wanted his fix.
We want the singles club to be that special. We want it to be a one-time deal. I'm sure we could set up. Denver has big shows, Dallas has big shows, and there's some money to be made if we did it. But we like the special. We like the fact that guys like you and the Mike Summer and
Yeah.
Rich Mueller spends time, those guys.
Yeah.
We like the fact that those guys come back and visit us, and everybody. I mean, we've made so many friends, and now people like when I was in Dallas, people saw me. They're like, "Hey, you're singles club. So I mean, it's like, yeah, we got on and stuff. So that's been our thing. Is we think keeping it as just a one shot a year thing is real special, and that's going to help us keep going forever.
Yeah, it's a great point because people look forward to that week every year, right?
Right.
If you were, not that there's anything wrong with it, but if you were doing, 3 shows a month and a national, it would still be a great thing, but it would sort of lose a little bit of that luster, right? Or a little oversaturation.
Yeah, it'd be picked. And yeah, we didn't want that. Like, we've probably bought, in fact, we started buying last year. We got home from Chicago Monday at noon, and by 4:00 that afternoon, I had picked up a collection locally already, and we were rolling for this year. So, and it's been harder this year, and you know that. I mean, it's been hard finding stuff, and that's why last year we didn't sell out at the end. We brought back. There was so much good stuff that only came out for one day and stuff. In fact, now I'll just go and grab a handful just to see what. Oh my gosh, there's going to be stuff in here. People are going to Devin Booker prisms that people are looking, stuff like that. And then it's just gotten harder to find stuff. And I mean, on both ends of it, high end and low end, people are, now the people that, I dug out this collection, but I see that's on the news, cards are hot again. And yeah, but those are still 88 Donruss.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's funny. I get, I've said this, multiple times on this show. I'm Google certified here. Well, just in general, but so if you type Syracuse sports cards into Google, I'm going to be the first person that comes up. So, Chris, I get about a call a day on average. If I don't get a call today, I'm going to get 2 tomorrow or maybe 3, on the next day with people selling, their collections. And, I don't know how you do it, but I've learned over the years, by trial and error, like before I drive out there, whether it be 10 miles or 15 miles, text me some photos of what you think is your better stuff in this collection, if you will. Because, there's a few times I think, where I'm going with this, you get there. And like you said, it's 88 Donruss, 91 Fleer, and you got to be the bearer of bad news, right? Which, it's not a fun thing, a spot to be in. It's not fun to deliver it. And then you think, well, I drove all the way out here and it's not going to be fruitful at all. And I got to drive back now. And nothing to show for my efforts. So now I always have folks that kind of reach out to me, send me some photos. I'll give you the straight scoop, probably 8 out of 10 of those type of exchanges are that, as people call it, the junk wax era or not the prime stuff or not a lot I can do with. And, I'm nice about it. I just say, it's just kind of a mass produced type of those years. And there might be a few diamonds in the rough, but if you want, and a lot of times I'll tell them what to look for. Hey, if you do want to see if you have these, you might be okay, but I'm probably not interested, in buying it. So,
yeah, I mean, it's been amazing, like we've lucked into some that we've had to ship from the West Coast to here where it was an easy deal.
Yeah.
And then we've had some that, I mean, we had one deal and it was only about 4 blocks from Cody's house. And it took
there.
It took like 18 months to close though, because, it was just, and then, finally closed and stuff. But I will tell a great story about last year, right before Thanksgiving here. Cody had worked with a guy for like a year and it wasn't very far from his house either. And this guy was an accountant and his passion was to build sets.
Yeah.
And when Cody got the deal done, and I'm like, well, how much is there? And he had sent me some pictures, and he's like, oh, there's a bunch. He goes, we're going to need all of your Gehrig. My son is Gehrig, and my daughter's Brooklyn.
That's awesome.
And
there you go. That's my hometown. So
New York.
Yeah.
So he's like, we're going to need all their friends in a U-Haul. So I'm like, okay. So I get there, and it is about 600 5,000 count boxes.
Wow.
And we filled that U-Haul 3 times, and it was a big box truck, a 15 footer, and not one sleeve anywhere in the building. Everything was just put into set order from the 86, 87 Fleer basketball on up. I mean, there was, 50, 89 upper deck sets. But to get back to that story, so that was so close to Cody's house. So, we're sometimes scouring the country and there are just some right in your backyard. And thank God that George Kruk from Kruk Cards, he's a bulk common buyer, and we've gotten to know George over the years. We made 7 pallets of bulk commons to send George. Yeah. And we were about a pallet and a half for the singles club. So it worked out really good.
Time to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more about the singles club with Chris.
Hey everybody, have you heard about Collectible? It's the one-stop shop where any collector can buy and trade affordable shares in some of the most rare and valuable sports cards and memorabilia in the world, starting from just $5. From 1952 Mickey Mantle PSA 10s in Wilt Chamberlain's iconic rookie uniform to one-of-one Patrick Mahomes RPAs, rare LeBron James logo mans, and everything in between, Collectible is creating never-before-seen access and opportunities for all. Let's grow the hobby we love together. Please note this is not a recommendation or solicitation to buy any security. All investment decisions should be undertaken after doing your own research.
We are back with Chris Geiss.
How do people, I mentioned how I get found with being Google certified. How do people know, besides maybe already knowing you or maybe through a grapevine, how do people find out that you're interested in buying collections, or how do you find those collections?
Word of mouth has been awesome. I mean, because we started doing it 10 years ago up in our area, and I'll just say up in the Midwest, right? Like, got some stuff in North Dakota, which led to family members calling somebody in South Dakota and, whatever. Cody's constantly scouring the classifieds, looking for, what people have. And, we've got a couple classified websites up here that are really good. There's always Craigslist, which you never know what you're getting, stuff like that. We've gotten to the point where all the dealers in the area know us and all the card shops know us. And when something really big and bulky comes through that they're not in the mood to deal with, they know that I got a long winter in the basement and I can do it. And so that's the majority of it. I mean, otherwise, our social media on, we're, Singles Club on Twitter at Dollar Cards. That's our most popular area there. We don't do Facebook. We just do a little bit on Instagram. And, we just kind of, we almost like, the diamond in the rough doing the digging ourselves sometimes, where it's, hey, what can we come across, and stuff. And like I said, it's led to 20-hour car rides one way or the other, driving across the country with an envelope full of cash and hoping that your U-Haul doesn't break down. But it's, again, it all comes back to how much we just enjoy the people. I mean, the relationships and the friendships we've made, and, the fact that every time I see John Newman now, wherever we're at, we're going to take 10 minutes and cut it up and talk about, hey, did you see this? Or, hey, did you see that? And stuff. And the 6 of us that are going to work our booth this year, 7 of us, I guess. But, we're just looking forward to just the time together. I mean, what happens on the business side of it is just bonus. I mean, if till the weekend's over, we cover some bills and buy a few meals for our workers since they work pretty hard and have a good time of it. That's where we're at. We just really enjoy it. And we like to keep some nice things that we've been putting away, where that stuff ends up down the road. I don't know. I mean, some really cool stuff over here and over there that, that's just it. But the friendships that we've made, I mean, we've got so many people that now Singles Club, it's become like a reunion place. I've heard people tell me that, that's just where they tell their friends when they get to the National in Chicago last year. We'll meet at the Singles Club, so
it's so unique. Like if you can get lost in most of these nationals. You know that, Chris. So if you say, hey, meet me by this business's table. I remember I had to do an interview at one of the nationals. I don't know if it was last year or the previous one. Doesn't make a difference. And, I said, hey, we've set up to meet at a certain area, a certain business. And I had trouble. I had to ask people. They didn't. Like, I don't know where that is, And but if you say with your setup, I mean, it's just sort of a known, and it's a lot easier place to meet, and that's a big thing. People, like you said, you don't do the Singles Club all over the place, so people look forward to that week at the National to find those diamonds in the rough and bringing out that new inventory each day. Someone that looked that first day now has a reason to come back the second day. The person that missed the first day now has a reason to look the second day. So you're covering all the bases. I think it's a testament to you folks that are thinking about people on that level, not just just the dollar signs, which is, listen, there'd be nothing wrong with that, right? That's, there's expenses and
right
to get there and to buy these collections, but it's more than just dollar signs to you. I think the decisions and things you've done differently, I think, illustrate that, fully, that this is more than just a business. This is a destination. This is a fun booth. Whatever you get today, come back tomorrow, because not everything's out today, and each day.
We just love when we see them start lining up and file in, when we pull the door open and grab a chair, and that's the things we wanted to make it comfortable, man. There's 20 chairs there. You can sit and hunker down all day if you want. We're hustling and handing you the box. You don't even have to get up. You point what you want next and stuff. Yep. But if I had $1 for every time that our crew, whatever you want to call us, our singles club crew, that we all step back and kind of look and just giggle because, look what we've created type situation and how much fun that is, just because that's what we enjoy. We love, like you said.
Well, you should be, it's fun, but you should be proud of it too. I mean, that's not easy. To the outsider looking in, make it look easy, but there's a lot, as you well know, I'm the choir. It's a lot of gears turning. Like you said, it's been a little bit more difficult acquiring collections in recent times, where the hobbies went, more expensive. Everything's went up. You talk about shelving, plastics, and a lot of other supply kind of chain stuff has increased and has become more expensive. But you guys do a tremendous job. You've made a name for yourself in more ways than one, in a positive way. I'm a big kids in the hobby guy, Chris. I think you know that. I know Dr. Jim feels the same way, as many others do too. It's not like just us do. And at $1 a card, I mean, what more can you ask for to keep the hobby fun, enjoyable? Like you said, and like I know, and anyone that shopped at Singles Club, there's a lot of cards in there, 5, 6, 10, 20 bucks. Who knows what you might find, what might slip through the cracks. And that's the fun of it, right? That chase, that, hey, what's in this? What am I going to find in this next row, right?
Yeah, really.
It's like scratching a lottery ticket off, right? And you get the 2 like amounts. You need one more, right? You just don't know. And that's the fun of it. And you ain't going to lose. You know what I mean? You go to the casino for 4 hours, you might walk out of there with less money and nothing to show for it. You could say, well, I got 4 hours of entertainment for my money. But at the Singles Club, whatever time you spend there, if it's the same 4 hours, and you're going to spend money, you're going to walk out with who knows what. You're going to have something to show for it and be entertained in the like. And you guys are very personable, and the way you do things, again, speaks volumes to your caring about not just the dollar, but the people and the experience. And a lot of people could probably take a page from your book when it comes to retail and selling. But you guys are setting the tone, and I think the proof's in the pudding. People, when you read stuff on social media, hey, when we do our national, you're not an official sponsor. When I do my national preview show, you guys are always mentioned. You don't pay for that. That's me being honest, and it's a destination spot. And I want to get, most people know, but for those maybe going to their first national or never been, or somehow missed you, maybe they were there and somehow didn't get to that area or whatnot, I like to tell people it's a great area, especially whether you're on a budget or not, but especially if you're on a budget, it's a great way to spend some time and get some bang for your buck, pun intended. And, I think it's important. And, in this, we're getting a hobby where it's sort of this high end. It's almost become like 2 hobbies, right? Like you got this high end, and then you got sort of everything else. But for the everything else, you guys are really doing a great job, and very important, even though the word is out there, to get it out there even more. I think, good people should have good things happen to them. I think just in learning some more stuff, talking to you here tonight. I mean, you care about people, you care about the customer, you care about the experience, and I mean, what more can you ask for, right? And it's very important. So as someone who's, a dealer, I did my first show at 15 years old, and here we are 34 years later, and it's important that experience, just the show experience, just that banter, and yeah, it's easy to buy something online, sight unseen, no conversation to be had, but there's something about that in-person experience that I wouldn't trade for anything.
Time again to step aside, pay a couple bills, but we'll be right back with more with Chris.
Pastime Marketplace has a line of graded card cases that are waterproof, airtight, dust-tight, and hardened to protect and organize your valuable collection. Each of our cases come with pre-cut and pre-formed foam, so you don't have to cut and tear the foam when you get your case. The pre-cut foam inserts are sized to hold PSA, Beckett, SGC, and CGS slabs. Store it all safely and securely with a case from Pastime Marketplace. Check them out at www.pastimemarketplace.com.
We are back to talk more about Singles Club with Chris Geiss.
3 months out from the National, I really pretty much stopped my buying and kind of prepare to spend some money in that building and in person. If you give me a choice, I can buy a $50 card online or a $50 card in person. Same card, I'm going to take the in-person transaction every single time. Matter of fact, if it costs a few bucks more, I still would do the in-person. It's worth the few bucks more to have it in your hands, see what you're getting, have that conversation, that banter with that vendor. And, when you buy something online, you hope it's what that picture shows, right? Sure. And until you get it, the doubt's always potentially in the back of your mind. So I'm an in-person guy. I started young at doing my first show by myself at 15. I was terrible. I did well, terrible banter. I didn't talk much to anyone, kind of shy. Yeah. I joke about that. I've honed my craft over the years, took a little bit, but there's something that, I'll never trade that in-person experience for a behind the computer, behind the phone one when I have a choice.
Same here. I drove to Fargo this weekend, which is about 3.5 hours for me, and for some work stuff, and there was a card show, 25, 30 tables. I was like a little kid all week because I was like, hey, there's going to be a bunch of dealers I haven't seen. They're going to have some stuff I can pick up and stuff like that. And it was so good. And when you say that about young kids running a table, and there was a table, and it was a dad and his 2 teenage sons, and the dad was all in on the table, and the sons had the earbuds in and the whole deal, and they weren't really interested. And when I came back around, Dad had talked to them, and the earbuds were out, and they were standing up. And hey, are you looking for something? So it was they learned some retail stuff there, so that was very valuable to them and stuff. And
yeah, you can't put a price. You can't put a price on that stuff. Those kind of experiences can potentially make someone who's not a hobbyist into one, and and kindle something there. And so, I mean, that's a great example. Now, how are you working right up till like the week before the National, getting ready, or is there a point where you're like, hey, we gotta, this is it? How close to the?
We've got like 300,000 ready to roll. I've got another 35,000 refractors that I'm staring at right now that need to be sleeved. Our buddy Bray, the big guy who helps us, Bray Fox, he's a teacher. He's got about a week left. So then he'll make his way to my basement, and a couple cases of sleeves sitting here waiting for him. So he'll finish those up. But, we want to be done by the 4th of July. I mean, I don't want to spend my whole summer in the basement and stuff like that. So, especially as short as the North Dakota summers are. But, every night, I mean, it's easy to come downstairs, pop on the TV, have a box here or there, whatever the case may be. And so we won't work right up into it, but it's a 12-month thing to get it ready. I mean, you know how hard it is to sort and keep things organized. And I think that's the other thing that keeps you coming back to our place is, are you a vintage guy? There's the vintage. Are you just a baseball guy? It's right here. I love to watch guys who come back every day and they learn, they make friends out of each other. And hey, you were looking for this yesterday. Here's some of that type situation. Or aren't you finishing the 1819 optic hollow set? Here's a bunch of those, or the pinks or whatever. And so that's part of it. But yeah, we're going to work right up until, I suppose, 3 weeks prior. Then the week of gets crazy. Like when it's time to go, it's like, all right, we got to get trucks loaded, and these 2 guys are flying out, and these 3 are driving, and we're meeting here, and we're driving to Philadelphia, and and stuff like that. But I'll tell you one thing about Singles Club is it's allowed us to see a lot of great things, a lot of cool things that if we weren't chasing the stupid cardboard around, it would be. And I say stupid jokingly, but if we weren't chasing the cardboard around, I mean, I can remember, and you probably remember too, John, in the early 80s and the early 90s when you'd get your Sports Collector's Digest and the front cover would be advertising the National in Anaheim or the National wherever it was going to be. And you just like, oh, if I could ever get to do that or just to go to it. And now to be a part of it is just super special to us. And that's just, forever.
And not just, listen, I'm going to teach you, not just a part of it, a very big part of it. Like I said, this is not lip service. I've heard other people on their shows when they do their national preview shows, and I do one every year now. You are mentioned, and for anyone listening, Chris and Cody do not pay for that. That's me, being straightforward because it's true, and it's become a destination spot. So here you are, like dreaming of being at the Nationals, and not only are you're part of it, but you're really a seminal part of it now, and a destination point. And so that dream's a go, and I think you saw that and you raised it one becoming a destination point, and not easy to do. It's not easy to do, but you did it through honest hard work and thinking outside the box a little bit, right? Doing something that, like I said, I did my first show in 1987 at 15 years old. I've traveled to different states doing shows. I've never done the national as far as being a vendor, but I've never heard of, until you did it, I've never heard of anyone with that approach, right? Maybe at the end, if someone's selling out their table, hey, I have 1,000 cards left, give me, $5 a pop, $5,000.
Sure.
That isn't the same. I don't, that doesn't count. But to actually have a mindset, a business model where, listen, everything's a dollar. Very simple here. It's not rocket science.
Go ahead. Some people don't believe it. Like they come in and they'll find a really good card and they'll be like, $1, and we're like, yeah, it's all $1, stuff like that. And they're taking their pictures as they're going, and Deafness 45 and some of those guys have been doing their live blogs. Million Cubs, he's always in there, digging for Cubs, and then he finds other things that he's like, well, I can make a couple bucks on that and stuff, but I appreciate the kind words, John. I mean, that's when we started this, it was our love for the hobby and our wanting to take a chance and see what we could get out of it with that. And, if nothing else, for the next how many years, if this just is a way for our friends and our family to get together and travel and make a big deal out of it for a week and act like we're big shots. We don't want to act like big shots, but feel like we're big shots, maybe, And
you're modest, but you're very important to the hobby, and that's important. But you do it the right way. You don't, what I mean? You don't have to walk around like that. You put your pants on like we all do, one leg at a time. But to let others, you let others speak your significance. There's no finer testimony than that. I think it carries even more weight when countless others are like, "Hey, these guys at the Single Club, man, they're doing it the right way. They're awesome." I rather someone else. It's easy for me to say how great I am, which I usually don't, but I rather someone else do it. I think it carries obviously more weight when someone else does it. And, I think it's, again, a testament to you guys that there's a lot of people, again, not just on Sports Card Nation, but plenty of other content creators that talk about what you do and how important to the hobby it is. Not just at the National, but just in general. Because even though that you're there at the National for the 1 week, that stuff that people buy and purchase from you, it has a life past that week, right? Who knows where it goes And you know, a lot of people, I buy stuff when I buy stuff from you guys. Some of it I have it in mind for other people. I'm just gonna send a rack to them. You know,
Absolutely.
hey, here, man, I was thinking of you when I bought these 10 cards. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean?
And I think that's what, you know, some guys are in there, they're buying shoeboxes full of inventory for the next shows they're going to do. Others are buying for friends and family. They're, Cal, I got a friend in California who's been looking for this for 5 years type situation. And the variety, that's my favorite part of it, you know, is when I'm sorting and stuff, I'll be like, holy cow. And Cody laughs because I can remember, you know, well, those were like 1 in 488 packs. Those were really hard to get, you know, and he's always making fun of me on the oddball stuff. And
time to hear again from one of our great sponsors, but as soon as we're done doing that, we'll be right back with Singles Club and Chris.
The Sports Card Shop is your small-town local card shop with a global reach. Located in New Buffalo, Michigan, the shop is one of the most accessible in the Midwest. In addition to being an authorized Panini direct dealer, the Sports Card Shop carries all major trading card brands, including Topps, Upper Deck, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and more. With all that new wax, 500,000 singles, and showcases full of graded cards, you're sure to find something great for your collection, whether you're just starting out or a seasoned collector. The Sports Card Shop is your one-stop shop. So call us, come see us, or visit us on the web and social media. Our phone number is 269-469-0140. Website is thesportscardshop@moco.com. The Sports Card Shop is part of the Moco Retail Group, connecting sports, the hobby, and people around the world.
Sports Card Nation has returned with Single Club's Chris Geiss.
Content side, like you just mentioned, look at what some of you guys have become too. I mean, Sports Card Nation, I mean, everybody talks about you. I mean, there's so many of you that have just blown up and become true voices and positives.
It's funny, Chris, you know, not to, you know, when I started the show in 2018, I had no vision, you know, I was just having fun with it. I didn't have, you know, I even said, I'm not really setting goals because I don't know where this is going or if it's going. I may be done in 3 months, right? If no one's listening, I'm not going to, you know, I talk to myself already without turning on the mic. I don't have to do it and turn the mic on. So, you know, and just where the shows come, if you would have told me then, you know, what would happen now, I would have thought you're crazy. And, you know, I don't even like taking much of credits. It's guests like you who come on every week and share some time. I don't pay guests. So, you know, you got to donate time, and it's, you know, I always say more to guests and less to me is the recipe, at least for Sports Card Nation. And, you know, we have we do have sponsors, and they're important to get some of those bills paid so the show can be, and giveaways. We do a lot of giveaways through our sponsor, but more importantly, you know, is the people out there who listen and download to the show. Because without them, again, I'd be turning this mic on and entertaining myself, or maybe potentially who I'm talking to. But you know, that's no fun. And it's again, to know where we are now, it's humbling. But again, I'm just a hobbyist like anyone else. You know, we have little egos. Anyone that says they don't have an ego whatsoever is not telling the truth. But you know, I'm just having a lot of fun, and this, like Dr. Jim says, I know we talked about him a few times, that it's the greatest hobby in the world. I'm just glad to be a very small cog in the biggest, greatest hobby in the world. And you know, if I get recognized, it doesn't matter how many times it might happen. If I'm walking around at the National, someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, you know, I really love your show. Thanks, John." I mean, it's just, it just it warms my heart up, and it's the fuel to my fire, right? It's that kind of stuff that, you know, and I get a lot of feedback, and it's important. And you know, that's if you know, they always say if you can make a difference in one person's life, you know, it's worth it. And I've gotten plenty of feedback, so it's great. And same thing, you know, what you guys are doing for the hobby, it's important, it's great, and you know, don't stop. And you know, like I said, it gives everyone something to look forward. That last week in July, in front part of August, and it's sort of a rite of passage now. I think it's something people, like you said, you got people waiting there for you. You're not even set up for you. It's like the Rolling Stones are coming to town, and the lines
vultures, as they're slowly circling, and they're hoping that we take the lids off the boxes. And that's kind of the big deal, right? Is we leave the lids on the shoe boxes until it's time to go. And last year they were lined up there. We'll help take the lids off. We're like, hey, we got 5 days, settle in, and stuff like that. So it'll be all right. So, but yeah, I mean, it's been a ton of fun, John. Getting to meet people like yourself and, guys that have been so, deep into the hobby and know the ins and outs and, the big movers and shakers, and for you guys to consider and, make such good comments about us. I mean, Cody and I couldn't be, there's definitely a pride factor when people say so many nice things about us.
Sure.
And, we're proud of what the singles club has become. We're proud that people look forward to seeing it. And with that, I think that just makes us work harder because we don't want to disappoint. I think each year, I would say we definitely have put more work into it than the past, and not for any other reason other than, hey, we can't disappoint these people. So I think that's really cool.
Well, it shows you care. Shows you care about what you're doing and the people you're serving and helping out. And again, there's a few people probably could take a page from your book if they really wanted to do a better job. But you guys are leading by example. Chris, I like you said, I know you're busy. You got a lot of stuff still to do. I mean, we're only in May here, so I mean we're close. We're 70 something days away. But I appreciate you giving Sports Card Nation some time, as I always do with every guest. Take you to as much time as you need. Give out those socials, websites, wherever you want to direct people to find out what singles club or whatever you're doing, even if it's something else.
Thanks, John. First, thanks for the hour tonight. It's been awesome. Like I said, an hour with you tonight will get me that energy for the next 70 days and get us to the gate. But singlesclubsportscards.com. We've got a little information there. Twitter @$cards is our biggest thing. That's where we got the most followers, thousands of followers there. That's where we're always updating, showing pictures, showing of what's coming, showing what they can expect. I want to just wrap it up with a big thank you, man. I mean, it's been, like we talked about 20 minutes ago, the dream of eventually going to a national from when you were a little kid to being this big part of it. It's been awesome. Cody and I are thankful for it. We laugh about it. We joke about, hey, just, one great idea. And we just, but like I said, we're going to work harder to make it better every year because we feel like we owe it to the rest of the people who want to be a part of the hobby and really enjoy every day of it while they're at the national. I mean, if they bring their family or if they can only be there one day, we want to be a small piece of that. And guys like you help get the word out there, John, and that's why we appreciate all of you and look forward to when I shake your hand and see you in Atlantic City.
Well, God willing, I'll be there, and I'm definitely making a beeline to the singles club booth as I usually do. I got to try to beat Dr. Jim. He's pretty quick, so I'm gonna have to try to outrace him there. But as well as a lot of other people too. So it's a race. It's a race to get to your booth. But that's a good problem to have, and again, a testament to what you guys do and the service and the great service you provide. So a lot of people are looking forward to seeing you here at the end of July, and it's coming up. We're going to be under 60 days away, 2 months away, and that's when time really starts to move. And so looking forward to seeing you again and enjoying a week. I call it the Super Bowl of the hobby, and I don't think that'll, we see a lot of new shows coming, but there's only one national. So, all right, we'll see you there.
All right, John, I appreciate it. You're nobody better. Thank you.
We love our listeners. Without you, there is no us. We care about your opinions and feedback and invite you to reach out to us on any of our social media accounts. On Instagram @Sports Card Nation Podcast, Twitter @SportsCardNati1, or email the show at sportscardnationpc@gmail.com. We don't ask for much, but if you really like the show, give us a shout out. Tell your friends or give us a follow on our social medias. If you enjoyed the show, please give us a positive review on iTunes or any of the platforms you are listening on. Thank you.
that's going to do it for this edition of Sports Card Nation. Thanks to Chris Geiss for letting us a little bit behind the curtain to that operation, Singles Club, and they built that thing to be a powerhouse, from a little engine that could to a steam locomotive train that everyone looks forward to at the National. Even if you're even into high-end cards, it's still fun to find those hidden treasures in those Singles Club boxes. And like Chris said, now they put fresh inventory out every day. So even if you look through everything the first day, there's going to be new stuff for the second day. And I love that too, because, people don't always get to the National the first or even the second day. With them putting new stuff out every day, it gives those people maybe coming in a little bit later to town, to the National, gives them an opportunity to find some diamonds in the rough and have some fun looking through some cards. And it's just a well-organized machine and process. Like Chris says, he thanks all his teammates and people who get it done, so that we, the consumer, right, can enjoy going through that stuff and finding who knows what. And gotten to know Chris, like I said in the open, and he's a very good guy. He cares about the hobby, cares about the consumer base, and that's refreshing with some of the other things we see from time to time. So glad to have him on. I look forward to seeing him here in a couple months and in person, and I'm sure many of you are just the same. So with that being said, we're going to bring this thing to a close. I want to wish everybody safe and health, and we'll see you back here in a week.
That's a wrap on another edition of the Sports Card Nation podcast. Thank you to all the awesome listeners out there. Without you, there is no us. Thank you to all our great guests who drive this show, and also our wonderful sponsors who help us produce the great hobby content every week. Remember, another Hobby Quick Hits episode drops every Monday, and Sports Card Nation returns again next Friday. If you like the shows, we appreciate those positive reviews. Be well, and always remember, the hobby is the people.